I knew Rafael was married. I knew from the very first moment we met in the bar of a 5-star hotel in New York. My name is Beatrice, and up until that point, my life had always been peaceful. Or at least I thought it would be. Everything started when my company sent me to the US for a business event. Little did I know, a simple work trip would turn into something I could never have imagined. Rafael was the kind of man who attracted attention from everyone in the room. I was no different. He was tall, with a charming smile and natural charisma. He was sitting at a table with a group of businessmen. But what drew me in wasn't just his looks. It was the way he carried himself, how he seemed to always be in control, like nothing could shake his confidence. I was shy, more focused on my work than anything else. But when he invited me to join him for a drink, all I could do was laugh awkwardly, unsure of what to say. What I didn't know was that he wasn't just interested in talking to me. Deep down, I knew he was married. I saw the wedding ring on his finger. But something inside me told me to keep going, to explore what felt like an irresistible attraction. Over the next few days, Rafael made a point of accompanying me at every step. He invited me to dinner, to explore the city. He told me he had a good life, but that he was missing something he believed he could find in me. The first kiss happened at a cozy restaurant, surrounded by the soft glow of candlelight. He gently pulled me close, his hands on my waist, and whispered, "I know you feel the same way I do. Why resist?" When his lips touched mine, it felt like the world disappeared. The fear of being the other woman, of destroying a family, was swallowed by the growing desire inside me. In that moment, I didn't care about anything else. I wanted him, and that seemed to be enough. From that moment on, I lost myself. What started as something exciting and forbidden quickly turned into a web of lies and confusion. I knew he loved his wife, but he told me their relationship had cooled down, that she no longer understood him the way she used to. I was the fire he needed to reignite his passion, and he was the poison that seduced me more and more. The weeks that followed were an emotional roller coaster. Each encounter with Rafael was a mix of pleasure and guilt, a dangerous dance between desire and regret. One afternoon, as he held me close after yet another passionate night, he said something I never expected to hear. "Beatrice, I need you. I can't go back home. I can't live without you." And at that moment, I realized how serious this was. He wanted more than just an affair. He wanted a life with me, and I didn't know if I could offer that to him. What started as a risky adventure had turned into an obsession for both of us. Now, I had to make a choice: to live this forbidden love and follow his lead, or return to my life and fight against what I was beginning to feel. The situation became more complicated when I realized I was falling in love with him. But deep down, I knew that in the end, Rafael would never choose me. He had a wife, a family, a life that he could never give up. But at the same time, he was torn between the desire he felt for me and the family he knew he couldn't abandon. And I, caught in the middle of this battle, felt lost. It wasn't just his appearance or the way he carried himself that drew me to him. There was something powerful about Rafael, something that seemed to pull me in despite all the reasons I should have stayed away. He was a successful businessman, one of the top executives in his company. When we first spoke, he made it clear that he wasn't looking for anything serious. At least that's what he said. But there was always this underlying tension between us, a chemistry I couldn't ignore. I started seeing Rafael regularly, even though I knew what we were doing wasn't right. He would take me to fancy restaurants, to his penthouse in the city. Each time we were together, the desire grew stronger, and the boundaries between right and wrong seemed to blur. It became a game, a dangerous game of seduction, lies, and passion. And despite the guilt, I found myself looking forward to our next meeting with increasing anticipation. What confused me the most was how easily he could turn on the charm. He would call me in the middle of the day, just to ask how I was doing, and I would feel my heart race every time I heard his voice. It was as if he could control my emotions, pull me into his world, and make me forget about everything else. In his presence, I was both terrified and exhilarated. There was something about being with him that made me feel alive, like I was experiencing something forbidden but thrilling at the same time. I wasn't the only one who noticed the changes in me. My friends started commenting on how I seemed distracted, as if my mind was somewhere else, and I couldn't deny it. Rafael had become a constant thought in my head, and no matter how much I tried to push it away, the temptation was always there. As time went on, Rafael started talking more openly about his marriage. He claimed that his wife, Julia, was a wonderful woman, but that their relationship had faded. They were no longer as close as they used to be. He spoke about their life together as if it were a memory, something that no longer had the same spark. But I knew the truth. Julia was still very much a part of his life. I was the other woman, the one who brought excitement back into his routine. But the deeper we got, the more complicated things became. I began questioning everything. Was I just a temporary escape for him? Or was there something real between us? It was hard to tell. Every time he would kiss me, hold me, I felt something more than just passion. I felt that maybe, just maybe, he cared about me. But then the guilt would set in again. What about his family? What about his wife? One night, I asked him what he planned to do. "I don't want to hurt anyone," I said, my voice trembling. "But I don't know how much longer I can keep this secret." Rafael took a deep breath and looked at me. "I don't want to hurt anyone either, Beatrice. But I can't keep living a lie. I need you. You're the one who makes me feel alive again." In that moment, I realized how deep I had fallen. I was no longer just an escape for Rafael. I had become part of his world, and he had become part of mine. But the reality was that he was still married. He still had a life that he couldn't walk away from. And I was stuck, unable to break free from the pull of my emotions and the fear of losing him. The weeks went by, and my feelings for Rafael continued to grow stronger. I couldn't stop thinking about him, even during the day, even when I was at work. He would send me messages, and I would eagerly reply, my heart racing with excitement. We started to meet more frequently, and each time felt like an even bigger risk. We were playing with fire, and I knew it. But I couldn't stop. I wanted him. I needed him. One evening, he told me that he was planning to take a break from his wife. He said they were having problems and that he needed space to think. But what he didn't say was that he was planning to spend that time with me. I knew it was wrong, that I shouldn't be a part of his plans, but the thought of him choosing me over everything else made me feel like I was winning. I wanted to believe that we had a future together, that somehow we could make it work. But deep down, I knew the truth. Rafael would never leave his family for me. He couldn't. I wasn't the woman he was meant to be with. I was just an affair, a brief distraction from the life he had built. And as much as I tried to convince myself otherwise, I couldn't ignore the fact that I was hurting someone else in the process. The night I realized I was truly in love with Rafael was also the night I understood the full scope of my situation. We had spent the evening together, and as he kissed me goodnight, I felt a wave of emotion rush over me. I loved him. I had fallen for him in a way I hadn't expected, in a way that left me vulnerable and scared. But I couldn't have him, not the way I wanted. He belonged to someone else. And no matter how much I wanted to believe in the possibility of us, the reality was clear. We couldn't be together. That was the moment I made the hardest decision of my life. I had to let him go. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't quick, but I knew that staying with him would only bring more pain. I had to walk away from the fantasy I had built in my head and face the truth. Rafael would always be a part of me, but we couldn't have a future together. It was over, and there was no turning back. As I walked away from him, I knew I had learned an important lesson. Love could be a beautiful thing, but it could also be dangerous. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to let go of something that feels right, even when you know it's not. And that's what I did. I let go of Rafael. Did you like today's story? So, leave your like and subscribe to continue watching the channel's videos. Until the next story.